Guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. It's from a guy. He is sounds like he's probably mid-60s on up. He just said he recently retired. And he's going to share his story about how decades ago, when he was in his early 30s, he married who was his first wife after only knowing her for 9 months. And as you can imagine, being the fact that he only knew her for 9 months, a lot of things were he didn't learn a lot of things about her that he should have. And ultimately, you're going to see real quick that his marriage and the girl he thought she was not at all. And after a couple of years, things completely changed, total 180, and she was a total bitch. And ultimately, you're also going to see that she was actually conspiring with a boyfriend of hers, because she was cheating, to rob this guy blind, steal his stuff, and sell it, and pretty much fund them taking off into the sunset. But this guy, obviously, he's no dummy. He caught on to this and had a clever way of catching them and eventually coming out on top. And so I'm doing this one just as a reminder, guys, how important it is not only to pay attention to red flags before, during relationships, but also how you just simply cannot rush into these types of things. Get married. You only were 9 months. That is madness. I don't care where you are in life and how desperate you are to, say, start a family and do all those things and have kids. You got to take your time to really get to know someone. I'm talking years. This whole nonsense you see all the time in movies and shows and novels about people meet and they get married right away and all that, it's ridiculous, because you need to really see how these people are in real life, when real life situations hit them, how they react, how they respond. Are they good communicators in a relationship? How they are with money, how their families are, before you get married. Because if you don't, you could be setting yourself up for a whole lot of crap. And even then, you're never 100% sure, because you can get the whole bait and switch. Now, you know how I feel about marriage today in 2022. But that being said, there's a lot of guys that follow me on relationship guys. So these are very important things. And this guy's story is an example. Now, does this mean that every gal is going to be like this one here? Of course not. But there are a lot of wackos out there, and I don't want you guys to ever fall and be their prey. So he starts off, he says, "Hi SSM, I've been watching your channel for about 3 months now, and I find it very entertaining. Since I have recently retired, I think that I may have watched all your videos on both channels." Dude, that's a lot of videos. Thank you for your support. We're talking about probably close to 800 between both channels. And by the way, guys, if you haven't checked out my other channel, They Did What, by all means check it out. It's all for crazy types of stories, while here on SSM, it's all about articles and stories you guys send me, and more dealing with men's advice and help and all that. While over there, it's just crazy shit, which I know a lot of you like, so check it out. Anyhow, it says, "Before I continue, when I write, omit, and put in parentheses, please refrain from using it if you decide to make a video on this." So he writes some things in here, guys, he wanted me to exclude, so out of respect for him, I've cut them out of the video, but it's not a whole lot. He says, onto the story. "When I was a young adult back in the 1970s, the late 1970s, I saw many of my friends marry early and they started families. After a few years, the divorces began and the kids were used against them, and they wound up paying massive child support. One of my best friends who was involved in one of those was laid off from his job and was having a difficult time getting another job that paid anything worth a damn. He fell behind on his payments and wound up going to jail for about 6 months. I swore up and down that this would never happen to me." Isn't that the biggest bunch of bullshit ever, guys? Guy loses his job, he's on the hook, he's got to take child support and all that, and if he can't get a job, he can't get a job, and then they're going to throw him in jail. How the hell is he supposed to make payments and take care of those kids then, right? And then he gets out of jail, and now he has even a bigger amount of debt that he has to pay, because they're not going to forget about that money that was owed, right? You got to be shitting me. Do you think that would happen to a woman? No way. Not a chance in hell. That is such bullshit. I mean, it's like when they threw people in debtor's prison. How are they going to pay debts when they're in jail, right? And I get they say, well, that was just giving a message to people not to fall behind, but things happen. And I'm sure that guy would have wanted to help out, but he couldn't get a job. Anyhow, I had to go on my little rant here on a Friday. Anyhow, he says here, "I continued on with life, not getting serious with a female, and when I was 34 years old, I thought that I'd met the one." No such thing. Notice these stories, guys, when people say they thought they met the one, you can just, here we go. It's all going to go to hell in a handbasket. "She was 30 years old, divorced, attractive, great in the sack, so we married after 9 months of dating. I know, smack. You're damn right, brother. Definitely a smack. 9 months after all the shit you saw your friends go through, and then you get married her after 9 months. If you waited a few years and everything was cool, then I could kind of get that. But 9 months? Come on here. I mean, generally speaking, the honeymoon period can go on 6 months to a year, putting up the big show for people. And I want to point out, she was already married and divorced at 30 years old. I told her up front that I don't dance, I don't watch sports, and I don't listen to country music. Well, you're actually going to see where this is going to come back and be an issue here, believe it or not. She acted as if I was a dream come true. Don't they all? Yes, they do. Because of this, and my main hobby kept me at home most of the time, which she was okay with that. Yeah, she was okay with that until you said I do. Then that changed. He says, I'm an electronics-minded guy. After almost 2 years of marriage, she started working a new job closer to home. After about 2 months, her attitude towards me started to change. Oh, my bad. I thought he said, when I read it in the beginning, I said 2 years. 2 months after they got married, her attitude started to change. Classic bait and switch. The second that ring is on the finger, she's thinking, I got this dipshit. I got this guy. I don't have to do anything anymore. It's really a shame. This is why you guys take your time with them if you're going to do marriage. Or hell, even if you begin a relationship, you take your time before you commit to being exclusive. You make her work to get you. You see what she's really like. And then you also know about my opinion on moving in with your girl. You only move in unless you plan on getting married. There's no other reason to move in with your girl otherwise. Now here's where the fun begins, guys. He says, she became distant, avoiding me, sleeping on the couch, staying late after work, and cussing me if I tried to touch her, and screaming F you if I tried to talk to her to see what was going on. I'm sure looking back, you're like, what the hell was I thinking? Again, after knowing all the bullshit your friends went through. So let's go back to this again. She became distant, avoiding me, sleeping on the couch, staying late after work, cussing me, and screaming F you if I tried to talk to her and see what was going on. Sounds like a really great communicator. These are things, guys, you learn if you spend years with somebody to see if they're a good communicator. If there's a problem, instead of them shouting F you, I don't want to talk, or being a passive-aggressive, or just not wanting to deal with it all, you'll see what they're like. You want someone that is willing to communicate when there's a problem, not just bottle up inside and explode. And of course, if he tried to touch her, well, they are married after all, so the people that are married are going to actually have relations. These are all important things. I know I keep talking about this, but I can't. I gotta really hit the nail on the head here. I really gotta hit home about this. Anyway, they said this raised red flags. You think? And I was determined to find out what was going on. This was in the mid-90s, and fortunately for me, it was before everyone had cell phones. Since I still had the twisted pair coming in the house, my idea worked. I'm assuming he means when he says twisted pair, he means her and her coworker. He says, I took a day off without her knowing it, and I went to Radio Shack, purchased 100-foot spool of telephone wire, a long play cassette recorder, player, tapes, etc., and a device that automatically started and stopped the recording when the phone was used. I installed this in my shed that I had power running to it. I was able to hide the wire, so she had no idea this device was being used. So you're doing some surveillance here, and it's certainly understandable. I then listened to the tapes during my commute to work, and I was surprised to discover what she was planning. She had gotten a boyfriend at work. I will call him A-hole. A-hole was a bad boy type, and they were planning to take everything that I owned of value, sell it, or pawn it to finance their excursion. I'm sorry to say, man, that I'm willing to bet you that she and A-hole were together before you guys got married, and this was probably a plan of hers. Maybe I could be wrong here, but a lot of times these are. You know, and again, look at this. I got to wonder, did she encourage you to rush things into the marriage? You know, really. Here we go with the sirens. He says here, I would have naturally reported these items as being stolen. Also, I had the serial numbers recorded and photos of everything. I never let on that I knew anything. She was even telling him and some of her friends I was too stupid to figure out what was going on. I am from the South. She was from the upper Midwest. Fast forward to the weekend, they were going to put their plan into action. I went to her place of employment to tell her she needed to come straight home instead of staying over because we had something very important to discuss. She demanded that I tell her right then because she was staying over. Also, on one tape, she was telling A-hole how I would never watch football with her or take her out to line dance to country music. Of course, he replied that he would do this with her. Of course, that's what he said. And, bro, good for you. I can't imagine. I can't. Hey, you know what? To each their own. If you guys watch this and you're from a part of the country that likes to do line dancing, okay, I'm glad you have a hobby. But that to me, that seems, pretty comical. Anyhow, he says, I did, and I laid out everything that I knew A-hole was that A-hole was standing 50 feet away. I never disclosed that I was recording her phone calls, and she thought one of her friends was telling me everything. She blew a gasket, and I told her she needed to come home and get her shit and get the hell out. Yes, brother, good for you. Believe it or not, there are guys that would find out something like this was going on, and they would just cave. They wouldn't know how to handle it right, or she would just tell them a story and tell them everything they want to know, even though they'd have concrete evidence. So good for you. I walked over to A-hole and told him this. I know what is going on between you two, and you can have her. You two deserve each other. He didn't say anything to me. What is he going to say to a 6'9", 260-pound man anyway? He got into his truck, drove up to me, and said that I had my wires crossed. He wasn't such a bad boy when he was by himself. Well, I'm more focused at the moment. You're 6'9". Holy crap! Your family are a bunch of giants. 6'9", 260. I'm sure he wasn't acting like such a tough guy when he was just alone with you. Shit, man, you could have been playing in the NFL, but you said you don't like sports. A few hours later, she showed up with one of her friends, packed up her stuff, and left the house. Once she was gone, I promptly changed the locks and collected the things she didn't take. That next day, I purchased a cheap padlock, rented a small storage room for 1 month, and put her junk in it. I wrote her a short note that her remaining items were at this location, put the note and the keys in the envelope, and took her to the place of employment. I wrote her name on it and asked the receptionist to give it to her. Well played, my man. Well played. The house we lived in was owned by my mother, so she couldn't get that, and we never had kids. That was smart, bro. Good way to go. I know a guy years ago who, a girlfriend I had a long time ago, he married her sister, and her sister was just a mess. Why he married her, who the hell knows? But he'd been divorced, and he got raked over the coals the first time. So before he married my girlfriend at the time's sister, he had his house put in his father's name because there's no way he was going to go through that again. And I think they're still together this day, but he learned. So there's an idea for some of you guys. You could always, if you own your house and you do get married, you want to play it safe, you can always have it in your mom or dad's name if you absolutely trust them. Thank God for that, because depending on where you live, she could have gotten the house. Or at least you would have to sell. Even if you haven't been married that long, you may have, depending on the time, depending on the house, had to sell it so she could have her half. And it's total bullshit, but it happens. He says here, her father really liked me because I had my shit together and I took care of what I owned. The divorce was easy and it was uncontested. She didn't even bother to show up. I saw her father about 5 years later, and he told me that she had said leaving me was the biggest mistake she ever made. Ha. Yeah, because the guy that she was obviously fooling around with, the so-called bad boy, he's not going to be able to provide. He's not going to give her that life that she probably wanted and the comfort there. Unfortunately, she saw you as a easy meal ticket and decided to take you for everything it's worth. I mean, you didn't elaborate too much more about how you were dating and all that, but she obviously put on the show for you, as many gals can do to guys. He says, I'm now retired with a pension, getting Social Security, and I have 22 years into my second marriage. I know karma came back to get my ex, but I haven't seen her since. She thought that I was so stupid that I would never figure it out. She definitely underestimated me and what I'm capable of. Thanks, SSM, and keep up the great content. Well, that was a great story, man. I'm really happy that you obviously were no dummy and you caught on that something was going on. You caught her and had the proof there. You know, that's pretty funny there. But guys, again, the lesson of the story, aside from the entertainment factor, is pay attention to the red flags. Doesn't mean that this is going to happen all the time. No, but you always have to keep your eye open, because you just never know. And especially in today's world where cheating and proposing an open marriage, open relationship, and all this other crap is considered to be empowerment. How the gal, even if she wasn't actually cheating, but how the gals nowadays, they got to have their Instagram or TikTok or whatever the hell it is to show off, and if the guy doesn't like that, well, then he's being controlling or some nonsense like bullshit. Or going so far as OnlyFans, because you're not an empowered woman nowadays unless you have guys gawking at you from around the world, or in some case paying. Things are going to hell in a handbasket, but you got to pay attention to your girl. You got to pay attention to what's going on, and you got to be willing to lay down the law. And if they're not going to respect those things, then you'll be willing to walk. And the other thing is, like back to the beginning, is 9 months they were together and they got married. And he said within 2 months, just like that. So guys, for your relationship guys, I know there are plenty of you watching, whether you want to admit it or not, you absolutely have to take your time, okay? Like I said, if you start dating, it should be easily 6 months, close to a year, before you actually become exclusive. Make her work to get you, because women respect guys more and they appreciate the relationship more. They have to work to get. If guy gets into a relationship with them right away, they're like, well, that was easy. Obviously isn't as high value as I thought. And immediately her ego goes up. Okay? And anything we have to work hard at, guys, we're going to appreciate more. I mean, really, that's really a thing that's been forgotten, because we live in an instant gratification society, or people just have credit cards and they buy whatever they want on the credit card and pay it off down the road. But back when there was a time we were younger guys, where we didn't have credit cards, we actually had to work and save money to get something we wanted and buy it. We respected it more. We appreciated it more. It's the same thing with relationships. So make your girl wait. And if you guys if you're the type of guy, depending on who you are, your culture, your religion, whatever it happens to be, and you want to get married one day so you can, have your son and all that, okay. Years. You need to be with her for years, really seeing what she's like, how she is in terms of communication. Because in this story, he said she was like a shitty communicator. What her family's like. Does she have a good relationship with them? Or are they fighting all the time? Is there all this drama? Because if there's going to be drama with her family, with her relationship with her parents, there's going to be drama in your family with her. So you walk away from that. How she is with money. Is she stupid with money? Does she piss away all her money whenever she has any? Does she rack up her credit cards and stupid things to make herself feel good? Again, these are important things. Does she have a whole bunch of debts you don't know about? This is why it takes years, guys. You want to be on the same page with these types of things, of communication and money and life goals and all that. And only then, when you, after years of this and seeing how she reacts to certain life situations, then if you really want to do it, then perhaps you might get married. And I might add, get a prenup. Both you get a prenup with lawyers present to see these things and all that. And go from there, and certainly hope for the best and work at it, but never put her on a pedestal. Always stand up to yourself. All these types of things. But I thought it'd be a good one to go over there, guys. So, all right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And also, if you guys have a great story you'd like to share with me, or there's a good article you think would be good to have on this channel, email it to me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. I'll cover it. And also, if you are on Instagram or locals, check me out. Making a big push into social media this year. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.